The stars over the dead zone didn't shine the same. Council scout vessel Relser drifted silently through that cursed sector of space, a place every navigator avoided. Ships vanished here. Whole convoys. No wreckage, no signals, just silence. But now, something had broken that silence. A signal. Faint. Repeating. In perfect galactic standard. Captain Volek, a veteran of 3 border wars, stood on the bridge, arms behind his back. His 4 blue eyes watched the holo display with suspicion. The signal pulsed again. "Is it human?" he asked. The comms officer, young, nervous, covered in pale scales, nodded slowly. "Yes, sir. Encrypted using Earth military protocols. It's old, maybe 20 years. But it's definitely human." "Where is it coming from?" "Grid 19. Near the dead star." Volek hissed through his sharp teeth. Grid 19 was where the Kratis Reaper had vanished. An entire destroyer, gone without trace. "Prepare a drone," he ordered. "We don't go near that thing blind." The drone launched 5 minutes later. It flew in, scanned the source. On the display, they saw nothing. Just empty space, dark and lifeless. Then the signal changed. It became speech. A woman's voice, calm and clear. "Human. This is Captain Mira Holt, Earth Defense Command. To any council ships hearing this, you are trespassing in classified quarantine space. Turn back." The bridge crew froze. Captain Holt had been declared dead 18 years ago. Her ship, the Wraith, had exploded during an experimental jump. No bodies recovered. No wreckage found. She'd been listed as a casualty until now. "That's impossible," the comms officer whispered. "She died before I was even born." The voice repeated. "This is Captain Mira Holt. You are trespassing. Turn back." Captain Volek's skin crawled. He didn't believe in ghosts, but this was something else. "Signal her," he barked. "Live transmission. Demand ID confirmation." The signal cut out. Silence again. Then something blinked on the edge of their sensors. Just for a second. The officer at navigation gasped. "Sir, there's something out there." "What is it?" "I don't know. It doesn't match any known profile. But it's behind us now." Volek turned. Outside the bridge's viewing port, stars shimmered like usual. Nothing strange. No ships. No threats. But the lights inside the Relser flickered. The ship's systems hiccuped, just for a second. Not enough to cause panic, but enough to be noticed. "Reboot diagnostics," Volek said, trying to keep his voice level. "No need," the engineer replied. "Systems are fine. All of them." Then came the third message. It wasn't transmitted over the usual channels. It appeared on every console at once. A single line of human text. "This galaxy remembers the wrong enemy." Every console shut off. Alarms blared. Lights turned red. The ship began to spin as stabilizers cut out. They were under attack, except there were no weapons. No explosions. Something was inside the system, controlling it. Then, just as suddenly, it stopped. Systems came back online. The ship righted itself. The signal was gone. The voice gone. Only that one sentence remained, burned into every officer's memory. Volek didn't wait. He ordered the ship to retreat, full burn. He didn't care if it made him look weak. Something unnatural had just toyed with his vessel. Back at Council Command, Volek's report caused chaos. Experts were called. Analysts replayed the message 100 times. They all agreed on 2 things. The voice belonged to a confirmed dead human captain. Whatever did that to the Relser wasn't just a ship. It was something else. The Council immediately ordered a response fleet. 47 ships, drawn from 7 member species. All of them armed, all of them elite. Their mission: find the Wraith, and if necessary, destroy it. But back in the dead zone, deep in a field of silent asteroids, the Wraith drifted unseen. It didn't look like any known human vessel. Its hull was darker than space itself. The shape seemed to shimmer, like it couldn't decide what form to take. Around it, the space itself hummed. like a predator waiting to strike. Inside, Captain Mira Holt stood alone on her bridge. Her uniform was old, patched with strange tech. Her eyes were sharp, unblinking. A voice echoed from her console. Not human. Deep, cold. They're coming. She nodded. Let them. Then she smiled just a little. They still think I'm the problem. She turned to the stars. They've forgotten what I was trying to stop. Behind her, systems activated. Weapons charged. And far away, in council space, an admiral watched the last message from Volek's ship and whispered the words written on the screen. This galaxy remembers the wrong enemy. He didn't know what it meant yet, but he was about to find out. The council fleet moved fast. 47 warships jumped toward the dead zone with one clear order: eliminate the human ship. Admiral Zealer of the Dresda Confederacy led the operation. He was old, respected, and ruthless. His fleet had wiped out 2 rebellions in the past decade. He didn't believe in ghosts or lost captains. He believed in power, numbers, and overwhelming force. On his command ship Judicator, he stood tall, watching the stars slip by. Status? He asked. Fleet will arrive in 43 minutes, replied his second-in-command, a reptilian officer with dull green scales. All ships are armed and ready. Zealer nodded. Good. If the humans have reactivated one of their old war projects, we will shut it down for good. No one disagreed. Most council species thought humans were clever but reckless. They grew too fast. They poked into things they didn't understand. Now one of their broken toys had wandered into restricted space. It was time to clean it up. But as the fleet approached the dead zone, something strange happened. Each ship's long-range scanner began flickering. One by one. We're losing sensor lock, the sensor chief reported. Interference is spreading. Jamming? Zealer asked. Maybe, but no known signal pattern. It's like the interference is alive. On board the Wraith, Captain Mira Holt was watching them come. She stood alone, surrounded by dark screens and a soft red glow. The bridge was quiet. No crew, just her and the ship's strange systems. She moved like someone who had done this before, too many times. They're here, she whispered. A soft hum rose from the ship's walls. The Wraith responded to her voice like a living thing. Mira opened a connection to a small console at her side. A woman's face appeared. Human. Serious. Dressed in a United Earth Intelligence uniform. Status? The woman asked. Council fleet incoming. 47 ships. Engage. Mira shook her head. Not yet. They think I'm here to start a war. And you're not. I'm here to stop one. The screen went dark. Mira turned to the front viewport. No stars were visible. Just black, endless black. She touched the panel beside her. Wake up, she said. Behind her, the ship's engines pulsed once. Not loud, not bright, just aware. In deep space, the council fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Their formation was perfect. Their weapons were charged. The admiral gave the order. Fan out. Cover every approach vector. If it moves, we end it. Dozens of ships spread out, scanning, searching, waiting. Then it began. One of the ships, Varnak's fist, lost power. No explosion. No sign of attack. Just gone. Emergency signal received, shouted a nearby crew. Then silence. No distress code. No escape pods. Zealer narrowed his eyes. Was it the human ship? No visual contact. Get me answers. More ships reported strange issues. Shields flickering. Targeting systems freezing. AI systems going offline. Then rebooting with strange symbols on their screens. Human symbols. Then finally a contact. A small distortion. Barely visible. The Wraith decloaked. It didn't look like a threat. Small, quiet, no weapons visible. But every council ship locked onto it instantly. Zealer gave the order. Fire. 46 ships opened fire at once. Beams of energy crossed space. Plasma bolts flew. Missiles streaked toward the target. But they all missed. The Wraith vanished before the shots arrived. Not cloaked, gone. like it had never been there at all. Then a voice spoke, not over comms, but directly inside every bridge on every ship. You shouldn't be here. It was Holt's voice. Zealer bared his teeth. Find that ship. Now. 3 more ships went dark. No alarms. Just powerless. Adrift. A video began to play on every screen across the fleet. It was Mira. She was younger. Commander. Standing before Earth's military council. We found something beyond the edge of known space, she said. It's not alive in the way we understand. It doesn't want territory. It doesn't want resources. It just spreads. The screen flashed. Containment failed, she continued. We sealed the rift. We lost 300,000 people. But we stopped it. We think. Zealer watched, stunned. What is this? He growled. Another voice, lower, colder, echoed over the fleet. You opened the door again. The ships began to shake. Instruments spun. Lights dimmed. Stars outside began to bend, as if space itself was twisting. And then every ship saw it. Not the Wraith, not Holt, but something behind her. Something massive. Something wrong. Captain Holt's voice returned one final time. You came for me, but I'm not the threat. She paused. They are. The message cut out. The stars vanished. And the real enemy stepped through. Admiral Zealer couldn't move. Every screen on his bridge was black. Every sound had stopped. No crew spoke. No system worked. The stars were gone. Only darkness surrounded the fleet. Then, slowly, the lights flickered back. But the stars did not return. Outside the ships, space was wrong. Twisted. Shapes floated just beyond the reach of sensors. They didn't move like ships. They didn't move like anything at all. They followed her, whispered one of Zealer's officers, voice shaking. She didn't bring them. They were waiting. Get me control of the fleet, Zealer barked. His voice was loud, but he felt a chill in his chest. Trying, sir. We have limited systems, navigation offline, targeting jammed, comms only working on local range. What about weapons? Some still operational, but I wouldn't trust them. From the far end of the twisted darkness, something began to glow. Not light, not energy, a shimmer, like heat over metal. Then a shape moved toward the fleet. It wasn't large. No bigger than a cruiser, but it didn't fly like a ship. It floated, folded, vanished, and returned. Every time it blinked, it was closer. Target it, Zealer shouted. A nearby frigate fired. The shot, an energy beam, vanished before it reached the thing. Just vanished like it never existed. Then the frigate shuddered. Its hull cracked in the middle, splitting like a crushed tin can. No explosion. No warning. Just gone. One ship down. No enemy fired. Panic spread. Several captains called for retreat. Zealer overrode them. No. Form a wall. Circle formation. Pull back slowly. Keep weapons on anything that moves. The fleet tried to regroup, but the darkness around them started to move. Not the ships. The space itself. The Council fleet had entered a place where the rules didn't apply, where weapons didn't work right, where time felt slower or faster. And the things in that place were watching. On the Wraith, Captain Mira Holt stood alone, surrounded by silence. The Wraith was holding, but barely. The ship groaned as invisible forces pressed against it. Her hands flew across the controls not to fight, but to keep the door from opening wider. They don't understand, she whispered. They think this is a war. She had tried to stop it, tried to warn the Council, but they only saw threats, not signs. Now they were paying the price. She opened a channel to the fleet. This is Captain Mira Holt of the Wraith. You are inside a dimensional fracture, what we call the rift. You cannot fight what's here. You can only leave. No one replied. She continued. If you fire again, it will respond. And you won't survive it. Inside the Judicator, Zealer heard her message. He wanted to ignore it. But then another ship vanished. Not destroyed. Just blinked out of existence. Gone. No debris. No signal. Just empty space where a destroyer used to be. Zealer clenched his fists. Open a direct channel to the human. His comms officer nodded. Channel open. This is Admiral Zealer, he said, his voice like steel. What are we facing? Silence. Then Holt's voice returned, calm and tired. I don't know what it's called. We called it the Maw. Eats data. Light. Matter. Memory. Everything. You brought it here. No. You did. Zealer almost shouted back, but stopped. Deep down, he knew she was right. Council probes had been disappearing near the edge of this zone for decades, but they kept sending them. They wanted more territory, more control. They ignored the signs. And now something ancient had woken up. He took a deep breath. How do we leave? You don't move fast, Holt replied. You move quiet. Shut off weapons. Drop power output. No signals. Just drift. That's your plan. It's not a plan, she said. It's survival. Zealer hated it. But 2 more ships vanished before he could argue. Fleet, he ordered. Full silent mode. Engines off. Comm silence. Shut down all active scans. One by one, the ships dimmed. Lights faded. Weapons powered down. The fleet became still. Dark. Invisible. The shapes in the rift moved slower now. Less curious. Less hungry. But not gone. The fleet floated in silence. Then a beacon lit on the Wraith. A jump point. It's closing, Holt said. You have 4 minutes. Zealer made his choice. All ships move. Quietly. Head for the jump point. The Council fleet, broken and humiliated, obeyed. They drifted toward the light like frightened animals. As they passed, the Wraith stayed behind. Captain Holt, Zealer called. Aren't you coming? No, she said. You'll die. I've already died once, she replied. This time, I stay and make sure it doesn't follow you out. Then the channel closed. The Council fleet jumped away, vanishing into safe space. Behind them, the rift folded closed, and the last image anyone saw was a lone human ship, holding the line against the dark. The Council fleet returned, but they didn't speak of victory. They arrived in Council space scattered and shaken. 37 ships had entered the rift. Only 23 came back. Some were damaged. Some were dark inside, with missing crew or broken systems that no one could explain. The rest had simply vanished. No logs, no debris, no answers. Admiral Zealer stood before the Galactic Defense Assembly, his shoulders stiff, his uniform torn at the collar. The Grand Chamber was silent. 12 species stared down from their high seats. Some looked angry. Most looked afraid. You ran, accused one senator, a spider-like alien whose voice was a clicking rasp. You left a human ghost in charge of our mission. I followed protocol, Zealer said. We faced a threat beyond military classification. No known weapon worked. No known sensor could see. Killed without effort. It warped space. Our ships weren't fighting machines. They were bait. The assembly murmured. What was it? Asked the High Arbiter, a tall being of light and glass. This maw she spoke of? I don't know. No one does. But I saw it. And I believe her. Captain Holt isn't our enemy. She was trying to keep that thing inside the rift. And we nearly broke the seal open. One of the Elder Council members leaned forward, his voice heavy with doubt. And you expect us to believe that a single human ship is holding back a galaxy-killing force? Zealer paused, then said simply, She didn't bring the Wraith back to fight us. She brought it back to warn us. Meanwhile, far away, a small United Earth research station floated in orbit around the dead world Balan 3. Inside, a red alert pulsed through the hallways. Scientists and officers gathered in the main command room, their faces pale. A message had arrived. Not a normal transmission. It was a burst of raw data, codes, coordinates, and warnings, shot through the deepest subspace channel Earth had ever used. One word repeated in the file header. Holt. General Iona Graves, head of Earth's outer defense, stared at the transmission in silence. She's alive, whispered a tech beside her. Graves didn't answer. She already knew. She had suspected Holt had survived for years, but no one had believed her. Has the council responded? Nothing yet, said the tech. But there's movement. A lot of it. Quiet, fast. Like they're preparing for something. Graves narrowed her eyes. They're scared. Back on the Wraith, deep in the rift, Holt sat quietly in the captain's chair. Her ship was barely holding together. Systems flickered. Hull plating groaned. But it was alive. Still working. The darkness outside was calm. For now. She spoke softly, not to the crew, but to the ship itself. They're not ready. You know that, don't you? The lights on the control panel blinked once, slow and steady. She sighed. They'll try to run again. Or hide. Or build bigger guns. The ship made a soft humming sound, almost like a whisper. But guns won't work here. Not this time. She looked at the rift wall ahead of her. It was rippling now. Not fully open, not yet. But something was pressing through. Testing. Learning. Holt stood and walked to the viewport. She placed her hand on the glass. I held the seal for 18 years, she whispered. Now I'll do it again. But I need more time. I need them to listen. She didn't know if Earth would believe her. She didn't know if the council would ever admit the truth. But she knew the enemy wasn't done. Suddenly, an alert chimed. Incoming signal, encrypted, human origin. She opened it. General Graves appeared, her image flickering. Mira. Hello, Ayana, Holt said quietly. I knew you were still out there. I told you the rift wasn't sealed forever. Graves nodded. We got your message. Earth is listening. I've already ordered a black site team to start recovery prep. If you can get back. I can't leave. Graves' face fell. You're alone in there. Not quite, Holt said. Behind her, the shadows shifted slightly. A shape moved beyond the ship. Huge. Watching. It hasn't attacked again, she added. I think it's learning too. Graves leaned forward. What do you need? Holt looked back at her controls. I need time. And I need Earth to be ready, in case I fail. Graves nodded. You'll have both. Holt ended the call and sat back down. The rift pulsed. The Wraith held steady. For now. The rift pulsed again. Captain Mira Holt felt it in her bones. Not like an explosion. Not like a weapon. More like pressure. A deep, invisible weight against her chest. She stood on the Wraith's bridge and stared out into the dark. The ship was quiet. The shadows outside weren't attacking. But they were watching. Waiting. She tapped a few keys on the command console. The energy seal was holding, for now, but weakening. There were new cracks. Little tears along the edges of reality. The kind that sensors couldn't measure but instincts could feel. The maw was stirring again. They're testing us, she muttered. They want to know if I'm still here. Another alert flashed. Her sensors picked up movement at the edge of the rift. Not council ships. Not Earth ships. Something else. Another unknown signal. She watched carefully as a new shape floated near the border, just outside the seal. A small drone. Ancient, rusted, not human-made. Council tech. Lost years ago, drifting through space like a forgotten coin in an ocean. But it was still broadcasting, and something was answering it. Mira's heart dropped. The signal it sent out matched one of the data pulses the maw had mimicked before. This drone was like a key opening a lock without knowing it. Not good, she whispered. Outside, the space around the drone rippled. The stars bent. A shimmer appeared behind it, faint, like heat waves on pavement. The maw was peeking through again. Mira jumped into action. She activated the Wraith's external fields and charged the EMP grid. She couldn't destroy the rift, but she could buy more time. She fired a silent electromagnetic pulse. The drone went dark. The signal stopped. The shimmer paused. The maw hesitated. Then it backed away just a little. That's right, she said under her breath. Back down. But she knew it wouldn't stay quiet forever. On Earth, deep beneath the capital city, General Ayana Graves stood before a wall of screens showing the outer rim. Drones, scout ships, long-range monitors, all watching the rift. Engineers moved through the command center quickly, laying cables, programming AI systems, building new defensive stations. The Black Site team had already started reverse engineering old Wraith logs. The scientists worked without sleep. The AI analysts decoded pulse signals from Mira's last messages. They didn't know how to beat the Maw yet, but they were learning. Still, General Graves knew they were behind. She turned to her top tactical officer. Status. We've started building energy barriers along the border of the Kepler region, he said. We've also deployed 2 early warning ships with deep-range scanning. But, he looked uneasy. There's a new problem. We picked up strange readings near Balan 3. Not from the rift. From inside Council space. Graves frowned. Explain. He pulled up a map. A Council Science Division sent probes to study Mira's last known coordinates. Without permission. For probes, all transmitting deep band scans. Graves stared. They're trying to breach the rift from their side, she said slowly. They still don't believe it. They think she's hiding tech. Something powerful. Graves shook her head. They're going to get people killed. She opened a direct channel to the United Earth President. A moment later, President Jules appeared on screen. Calm, sharp-eyed, dressed in a plain navy suit. We have a problem, Graves said quickly. The Council is still messing with the rift. If they trigger a breach, we won't be able to stop it from this side. The President didn't hesitate. What do you need? A warning. A clear message. If they keep pushing, we'll shut down the entire sector. No ships in or out. Military zone status. President Jules nodded. Do it. Back in space on the Wraith, Holt received an incoming signal from Earth. It was short, simple, direct. Earth acknowledges full containment priority. Sector lockdown begins in 24 hours. She smiled, just a little. Finally, they were taking it seriously. She turned to her console and began preparing a new broadcast. Not to Earth. Not to the Council. To the galaxy. A general warning. She would send it on every frequency, in every language she could translate. She would tell them about the rift, the Maw, the danger that was growing beyond the seal. And when they laughed or ignored her, because some of them would, she would still be here, watching the rift, holding the line. She hit record. This is Captain Mira Holt of the Wraith. You may not know my name, but you need to hear this. There is something waiting on the edge of your maps. Something we thought we stopped. Something hungry. She paused. It doesn't care about borders or politics or fleets. It doesn't want your planets. It wants your light, your memory, your data. It wants to erase you. Another pause. I'm not your enemy, but I might be the only one standing between you and what's coming. She ended the message and hit send. Then she leaned back and closed her eyes. And in the dark beyond the ship, the rift pulsed again. This time, stronger. The rift was changing. Captain Mira Holt watched it from her dim bridge, hands still, eyes alert. The pulsing wall of warped space ahead of her shimmered brighter now, more often, and with every flash, something inside moved. She couldn't see it clearly, just shapes like shadows behind a curtain. But they were getting closer to the edge. She had felt this before. Years ago, when the rift first opened during that mission no one ever spoke about. The Maw didn't charge through. It waited. It studied. Then it spread. And now it was doing it again. Her console beeped. Another signal had entered the outer edge of the rift. A ship this time. Not Council. Not Earth. Civilian. Who are you? She muttered, pulling up the signal. It was a small freighter, barely armed. No stealth. No protection. Just a crew of 3 traders chasing a rumor they'd heard about salvage near the dead zone. Holt sighed. Idiots. She opened a private channel. This is restricted space, she said firmly. Turn back now or you won't come back at all. There was a pause. Then a shaky voice responded. This is the Rainlight. We thought the Council cleared this area. We're just looking for scrap. Old satellites, drones? Listen carefully, she interrupted. You're one jump from never existing again. The thing inside the rift doesn't leave wreckage. It leaves nothing. Turn around. Now. The freighter paused, then began its retreat. Good. But they weren't the only ones sniffing around. Back on Earth, General Iona Graves stood in the command room with her arms crossed, watching a fleet assemble on the orbital display. 7 ships. All new. All classified. They weren't like the old warships of the past. These were fast, smart, silent. Built with Wraith tech, what little Earth had managed to replicate. They're not ready, she said quietly. President Jules appeared beside her on a secure line. They don't have to be perfect. Just ready enough. Graves turned to him. What's the plan? We send 3 ships to guard the outer edges of the rift. 1 stays cloaked in Council space. 2 more follow up on those rogue probes. If the Council keeps poking the maw, we need to be watching. And the other 4? Reinforcements. Hidden. Unless the rift breaks open. Graves exhaled slowly. That buys us time. But it's not enough. Jules leaned forward on the screen. That's why we've started working on something new. He tapped a key. A hologram appeared. A ship design like nothing she'd seen before. Larger than the Wraith, but shaped like a blade. Flat and jagged. No bridge. No windows. Just armor and power. What is that? Graves asked. The Sentinel. First of its kind. Built to seal the rift permanently, or destroy anything that tries to come through. Powered by a 0-point core. It'll be ready in 4 months. Graves raised an eyebrow. 4 months might be too late. The president nodded. Then pray Holt can hold the line that long. Back in the rift, the Wraith was groaning. Its energy fields were flickering again. The outer shell was heating. Not from weapons, but from pressure. The rift was pressing harder, like it was feeling her presence, testing her defenses. Holt didn't flinch. She walked to the rear chamber of her ship and stood before the oldest machine on board, a sealed cryo unit. The lights on it were still blinking. Alive. Inside it lay the only other human from her original mission. Her engineer. Her friend. The man who helped shut the rift the first time. Still in stasis. Still waiting for the all-clear. She touched the cold glass. Not yet, she whispered. Sleep a little longer. Another alarm rang. This time not danger but a message. From Earth. She opened it. Captain Holt. New fleet en route. Civilian traffic restricted. Council notified of all recent activity. Hold the line. She smiled faintly. That's all I've been doing. But she knew it couldn't last forever. The maw was learning. Each time it tested her defenses, it got closer to understanding them. She saw it in the pulses. The changes in shape. The way it moved differently now, less random, more focused. The next breach might not be small. And next time, she might not be able to stop it. So she prepared. She rewired the engines. Adjusted the fail-safes. Readied the old escape capsule. Just in case her cryopod friend needed saving. And then, just before she returned to the bridge, she heard it. A sound. Not from her ship. Not from space. But from inside her head. A whisper. Soft. Distant. In no language she knew. But it said one thing clearly. Soon. She stood very still. And the rift pulsed again. The rift tore open. Not all the way. Not like last time. But enough. Captain Mira Holt stood on the Wraith's bridge, heart pounding, watching the tear in space widen like a mouth stretching to scream. Lights on her control panels flashed red. The shields crackled. The ship's core whined under pressure. The maw was pushing through. She had seconds, maybe minutes. Containment field at 43%. The ship's AI warned. System failure imminent. I know, she whispered, hands flying across the controls. She rerouted power from the engines to the shields, then from the weapons to the jump dampeners. It wouldn't hold long, but it might be enough. Outside the ship, something moved. It wasn't shaped like anything real. It bent light, pulled sound out of space. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't alive. It was wrong. And it saw her. The rift pulsed. Then a voice echoed through the Wraith systems. Not human. Not alien. Just empty. Why do you fight? Mira stared at the screen, trembling. Not from fear. But from recognition. She had heard that voice once before. On the first mission. Right before the rift first opened. When her team had tried to map a collapsed star and accidentally found the tear in space that led to this thing. It had spoken then too, just before it consumed her entire crew. She was the only one who survived. She leaned toward the console. Because if I don't, no one will. The ship shook violently. Sparks flew from the ceiling. The hull screeched under the pressure. Back on Earth, General Iona Graves watched from the command center. The rift pulse had just reached their sensors. They saw the tear, the energy spike, and they saw the Wraith still holding the line, still alone. "She's buying us time," said one technician, eyes wide. Graves nodded. "Launch the new fleet." "All of them?" asked her officer. "Every ship we've built. Every prototype. Send them now." 12 Defiant-class vessels, each built from Holt's stolen specs, launched from orbit. Their cores glowed bright. They weren't made to explore. They were made to fight. Made for this moment. Back in the rift, Holt's ship was breaking apart. One section of the outer hull snapped off, spinning into the void. The lights dimmed. The shields fell to 17%. The maw was reaching through now. Shapes pouring from the tier like smoke made of thoughts. They didn't touch her ship. They simply passed through it, studying, testing. "Containment field breached," said the AI. "Full collapse in 52 seconds. Mira opened a last file. It was something she'd never wanted to use. A failsafe, something her engineer had helped build, then told her never to activate unless there was no other way. She hesitated. Her finger hovered over the command. Then she activated it. The Wraith's engines surged. Not to run, to burn. She had turned the entire ship into a bomb, a quantum pulse that would collapse the rift on itself. It wouldn't destroy the maw, but it would shove it back. For now. She turned toward the cryo chamber. She had already programmed the escape pod. It would launch just before detonation, carrying the stasis unit toward the outer edge of the rift. Toward safety. She walked over and placed her hand on the pod. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "You'll have to wake up without me." Then she pressed the launch button. The pod ejected from the Wraith just as the countdown began. 10 seconds. 9. 8. On Earth sensors, a bright flash bloomed from the rift. The signal from the Wraith vanished. The rift sealed behind it. The maw was gone. The room went silent. General Graves didn't speak. Neither did anyone else. They just watched the screen as the data finished streaming in. Then one word appeared. Containment. Stable. The cryopod was recovered 3 days later. Floating just outside the rift. Earth brought it home. Inside, Holt's friends slowly woke up, confused and alone. When they told him what she'd done, he just stared out the window. "She always said," he murmured, "one ship can hold the line, if the captain's stubborn enough." The galaxy heard what happened. Earth released Mira Holt's final message. Not the warning. The one she recorded privately. The one only sent after she activated the failsafe. "This isn't about war. Or borders. It's about survival. If you're hearing this, I did my part. Now you do yours." They built a monument. Not a statue. Not a base. They built a beacon. A silent one. At the edge of the rift. It doesn't speak. It doesn't shine. It just waits. Watching the dark. Waiting for a new captain. Just in case. Because one day the maw might return. And someone will have to hold the line again.